Gear Show 2026 is here, and we're doing a podcast this year. We don't know what the podcast is called, but I'm Max. I'm going to be hosting a lot of the podcast, and I'm here today, this morning, first thing, with CEO David Jeffries, Chief Nerd, as we like
Chief
to put
Nerd.
it,
Yep.
at OHD. And David, thanks for running Gear Show.
I mean, I don't really run it. So, I guess first off, we should say thanks so much to the OHD crew, the vendors, and the folks that kind of put this thing together, the volunteers. A lot of people put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into it. So I'm very thankful for it. This is actually year 9 of it officially being Gear Show, although we did take a gap year. But, it's been one of those things that's been really kind of evolving over the years. A lot of vendor input, a lot of, people coming in and actually telling us what they want to see, how they want to respond to it. It's been a fun little ride.
What are some of the things that are going on today that you are excited about or looking forward to? I know there's a breakfast food truck here.
Yep.
Bite Me.
Bite Me.
That's the name of the food truck. I'm excited about
Not the
that.
name of the podcast.
that is a good name of the podcast.
Yeah, it could be. It'd be interesting to see if we get to a name by the end of the day of what this podcast might be called.
That should be the goal of the podcast, is to name the podcast by the end of the day.
It should be. Maybe see how many people we can get input from. I don't have a good one.
No. But as far as a Gear Show today, what are some of the things going on you're looking forward to, aside from the food truck?
Well, I mean, food is always a big part of it for me. So we like I said, trying food truck this year. This whole year is about a little bit of difference, right? And I think we'll find this about some of the trends that I think we're going to talk about here in a bit. But we're just trying to find new ways to kind of engage how our audiences are kind of consuming what we're doing. So we're trying a food truck situation. We're trying doing this podcast kind of setup where we're getting a little bit more one-on-one conversations with folks, whether
as opposed
that's vendors.
to like the panel discussion.
Yeah, exactly. As opposed to panel discussions.
Hour-long block.
Yeah. In fact, our team did a lot of trying to figure out whether we were going to go to a more education format, whether we were going to do a podcast, whether we were just going to do an open house, whether they're going to do the traditional thing. So each of these have just been kind of iterations of like, what could we try that's a little bit different, see how it works. If it works, great. We'll keep doing it. If it doesn't work, we'll try something different. But so we're doing the podcast. Of course, we have vendors out. And it's been a little bit of an odd few years for the industry. So our vendor outlook is a little bit different than what we've had in previous years. We've invited a few more tangent kind of groups to the table, where it might be support roles in the vendor situation. So aside from our staples that we've had for years and years and years, specifically Sony, who's our event sponsor for this year. Thank you, Sony. Aside from those kinds of folks that have been here year over year and have been longtime supporters of the show, we also have some new folks that are here that are trying to either be some startup kind of situations or establish about tangent of the media acquisition industry, as I like to call it. So I'm excited about vendors. I'm excited about the food truck. I'm excited about the podcast. And I'm really excited about the idea of having more of a opportunity to get hands-on again. So when we started this whole thing 9 years ago or so, and even before that, when we were, a much smaller, younger company, where it was less of us, and we were doing Gear Show without calling it Gear Show. It was one of those situations where people that maybe would not normally have access to high-end cameras, high-end equipment, high-end things that it would normally be out of reach, we give them an opportunity to come in, touch it, play with it, figure out, does this work for me? Ask questions with the vendors, ask questions with the rental house, ask questions with other freelancers or professionals that are doing it to try to figure out, is this the right tool for me? What tools could I do to up my game on this? Getting back to those kind of roots of having an opportunity to actually get hands on it with it, I think is going to be a real highlight of the Gear Show this year.
Yeah, there is a ton of stuff in this building, a lot of stuff set up. Almost all of the setups have a camera involved that you're able to get your hands on. I was walking around just before we sat down here and just noticed how many toys are out of the toy chest this year, which seems really fun. And maybe we'll be able to do a walk around later and see some of that.
Yeah.
And you were talking, the industry as a whole, and the state of the industry came up a couple times in what you were saying. We all know what the kind of state of the industry has been, but what are some of the trends or things we are seeing as a company that are going on this year? Like, what is happening, or what kind of like new inventory or inventory expansion or different types of production are going on that are maybe more in the positive realm for this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think new inventory expansion's an interesting thing to bring up, right? So a lot of folks see us as this rental house, which I always kind of picture us more than a rental house, right? We're a resource. And that resource can be anything from widget rentals to how do we get this production done, right?
To creative solutions.
To create creative solutions, right? I mean, and even if that results in us actually having entree into that production or not isn't as important to me as being a partner in that, because I know for the long term, our partners, our vendors, and our customers usually come back to us because we are that trusted resource to it. So I really do try to honor that aspect of what we do with it. So part of that is understanding where their trends are going, right? So if a customer comes to me and says, David, I don't need, traditional lighting at this point. I want LED lighting. Well, okay, we've had LED lighting for years. What kind of LED lighting? Well, we're not really using panel lights anymore. We want Cobb style lights. Okay. Do you want big Cobb style lights? Do you want small Cobb style lights? Same thing with like cameras. What kind of camera systems are we using? Are we using the more giant build out traditional, we're going to shoot a feature kind of setups, or are we using small FX3 style setups? The answer is both. But it's one of those where it's like, where are those trends going? And then how do we build our inventory with it? I think one of the things that you'll resoundingly see throughout this show, throughout the year, is the move to authentic content. So, and by authentic content, what I'm saying is documentarian style content, live style content, things that are going to touch to the human aspect of what it is, and things that can be. And I really don't. I want to stay away from the AI conversation because I think it's been beaten into the ground. But
absolutely,
I think it's one of those where it's like it's an easy thing to point towards. It's like, oh well, AI is going to take something XYZ. I think what people are really saying is, I want to know that the material that I'm consuming is authentic. I want to know that the stuff that I'm getting from my brands or from my storytellers are things that are actually coming from other human beings. And I think that's been true long before the AI conversation has ever been a thing. I think it's just more resounding now. So with that, one of the things that we're seeing is trends towards documentary style work. So we're seeing a lot more smaller camera package stuff. So honestly, right now, the FX6 is probably the gold winner in terms of the stuff that we're seeing. We see a lot of that kind of go out the door. It's paired a lot with gimbal work, right? So we see a lot of Ronin kind of stuff that's happening with that. We also see, there's a beckon back to the old handheld days, right? So we are seeing a lot of easy rig kind of go out where it's not easy rig on a gimbal on a da-da-da-da-da. And I think a lot of that also speaks to the trend of like, if you watch classic content, sometimes that handheld feel gives you some more of that personal feeling, like we're involved with that storyline. I think so. Documentary style stuff, I think, is really taking off. The other side of it is live, right? I mean, and we've seen this honestly for the past few years since the COVID eras, where it's like people want to be able to get their content to a larger audience. First, it started as hybrid, where it's like, or all virtual. Then it went hybrid, and now I think people are seeing the idea that in an event situation, you have all of this content that's already existing right out there in front with your customers, with their end customers. And it's like you're missing an opportunity to get that media and be able to use it and reuse it and kind of give that same messaging out. So I think we're seeing a large pickup in live streaming space, in live capture space, where it's an event or it's a conference or something like that, where we are getting that kind of multi-camera environment in that situation. And I think
one thing I noticed too, though, is like in both of those instances, in both the live world and this kind of real world like docu thing, especially on the social end, I think one of the things adding to that authenticity is the quality of that,
100%.
that the quality now that's emerging over some of the live stream stuff with better sensors, also with like the social content going up, is starting to migrate a little from the just shot on your phone to more of a produced kind of production style shoot for that social content.
Well, I think it goes back to cutting through noise, right? So one of the things that was always the case of, if you look at the trends of media as it's kind of come over time, it's one of those where it's like brands are always looking for the way to stand out against what everybody else is doing. And so for a long time, it was the shift to influencer, it was the shift to social, it was the shift to, we're going to be that brand in this space. Well, if all of the brands are doing that in that space, it's like, well, what's separating you from that, right? And there's a few of our customers that have approached us with that, where we're looking at some of those situations where they are trying to stand out, even in those social spaces, your TikTok, your Instagram, your Facebooks, where they are trying to identify how their content stands out from their competitor content. And really what it continues to come back to, whether or not they see it this way, I see it this way, is a quality increase, right? It's is it well lit? Does it have engaging camera angles with it, right? It's all basics of storytelling in the visual sense.
Is there good audio?
Is there 100%.
And yeah, so turning that, let's shoot a social post on our phone in the last 20 minutes of the workday has become like, let's spend a couple hours actually producing a nice post that's lit and produced and you can hear and is still has that feel, but the tools that are out there are also evolving
100%
to, and our inventory is actually increasing because of that. I feel like, just from some of the demands we've seen from the market on things like lighting and audio and tabletop mics for live events and stuff, and not just relying on the, I guess standard model.
Yeah, the standard model or the phone model, right? Where it's like, I'm gonna, when we were doing some market research with one specific brand I'm thinking of, we were comparing it to some other large brands, and I don't want to get into the names, but this particular brand was doing a TikTok live where they had a phone set up across the room, and they were literally just yelling at the phone. And what everybody took away from that, whether or not we were looking for it as, competition kind of stuff with it or not, was just like, I don't want to be yelled at for a long period of time, right? And whether or not they were intending for that or not probably wasn't the case, but that's what it came across. So we're going back to this traditional mindset of like, how do we look at content and how do we want to represent ourselves in that content? And I think a lot of the brands are starting to see that. And there's some big brands here in Columbus that have maintained that across, right? Especially luxury brands, specific fitness brands. There are definitely pieces of that where they recognize how nice they need to present themselves because that's part of their image. And they do that across the board with things. And so I think that there's a little bit of that awakening going on right now. And we're not completely there yet, right? Like, I'm not saying that we're not still shooting cell phone stuff and we're not trying to do the quick social stuff, but I think we are starting to see a little bit of an awakening of how do I stand out against my competition, and that is quality. The other piece that I like to bring up in the social conversation is that people used to assume that social media was this cheap way to get media out. And what we're seeing, at least, and we don't do a ton of the buy side of this, but we do have a lot of agencies that we work with that kind of talk to us. We have a lot of customers that talk to us about this, is that the cost to get eyeballs on that content is increasing, right? So your major social media platforms have figured out that how their algorithm works, and now they are charging you to use their algorithm to put the eyeballs in front of the people you want to put it in front of. So it starts to back in the question of, it's like, where else can we put content? So if it's not just social, is it connected TV? Is it traditional broadcast? Is it menu boards? Is it in-store displays? Is it augmented reality? Is it virtual reality? Is it in cinemas? So there's all these different kinds of places that we can start to look at. In-app, apps are another big one that people don't necessarily think of as a place to put content, but you roll through your drive-through and maybe you want nuggets to fall from the sky. I don't know. So I think that there's a lot of ways to.
I always want nuggets to
just
from the sky.
fall from the. I feel like this should be like a Nickelodeon game show where
you say the right word and a bunch of nuggets fall
just
down.
Fall and hit. Yeah.
What are some of the kind of maybe gear specifics? Bring it back to GEARSHOW.
Yeah.
That we're seeing an increase or demand in that we've had to actually. Get more of to provide for that demand.
Interestingly enough, tabletop has made a nice little pump for us right now. So there is, we've increased our ADC from our aperture line. We've added more spotlight units for that, for more control. Obviously, we have our light bridge, which we've had for a while, but we're getting more requests for that kind of work. I think the other piece of this that we're kind of looking at is, we have our lovely performing rig vendor here, but the idea that we are getting into, how do we throw things in the air? How do we move things correctly? And I think that a lot goes back to pairing
accessories to motion control.
Right? And so obviously part of this is a little bit of us trying to, here's my pitch to the robot, but I I do think that motion control as a how do we show our actual product doing actual things is a really great tool. And it goes back to that authenticity I was talking about earlier. It's like, was this CG generated? Was this AI generated? Or was this real? And I think, you know, and in some of the shoots that we've been in, they'll actually, in their social side, shoot the BTS of that, right? It's because they want to show the authentic, this is how we're doing it together. And that is almost as important as the actual content that we're producing for it. So
what about things that are maybe not real?
Yeah.
Or unreal.
Oh,
like
unreal.
In the virtual production world.
For sure.
You know, because that's kind of using
Yeah.
Unreal to give that reality.
So Unreal Engine is a really interesting topic for me, and it continues to grow, right? So we got involved in this in you know, version 4 dot something, which was a while ago. And that was right around the time that Mandalorian was, you know, making its big debut, and we were doing a lot of things where you know, we got into the LED volume, which we still have, and we had just actually recently moved to Studio A. So if you're familiar with our Columbus space, for a long time it sat in Studio B in a curved configuration. Just due to some rentals and things that were going on, we actually moved it to our Studio A, which gives us the ability to put cars in front of it, gives us the ability to kind of have a little bit more space with it. We moved it to a flat configuration just as a test to see, is this a better configuration in flat or is it better in curved? And I don't know, the verdict is probably still out on that. But, you know, all the time when we think about virtual production, we almost always think about LED volumes. And I think that is a really limited way to look at virtual production. I think virtual production is one of those terms that is ambiguous right now, where we're still figuring out what that is because it is a relatively new piece of the industry. And as it continues to grow, I think we're seeing a lot more opportunities to utilize those tool sets in different places. So as an example, you know, there is a good case to be said that green screen isn't dead, right? Any of your chroma key stuff isn't dead. And we've utilized situations with customers to be able to create full 3D environments in a green screen space.
Yeah, you don't need a wall.
You don't necessarily need a wall.
Digital TV,
right,
to utilize virtual production.
And in those situations, we're actually utilizing it in that same live environment where it's like, okay, not only are we merging the idea of authentic content being produced, but now we're also engaging in the idea of a virtual set with that. So we can update the set, we can modify things between them, and it works great, especially if you can get you know, prop designers or set builders to come in and augment those virtual sets as well. So as we start layering the ideas of utilizing the Unreal Engine with physical stuff, not physical engines, but physical builds, you really be able to create environments that are kind of really immersive. And again, I think give some credence to the authentic feel of that, even though part of it is an Unreal environment.
Yeah.
You know, but with that, I'll give a huge shout out to our team member, Meg. I think she does a fabulous job with a lot of what we do in our virtual production space. And, you know, she's really made a push right now. Well, yes, certainly the volume is a priority for us, but it's also those extra tool sets that go around it. So she's gotten very heavy into a program called Touch Designer, which a fabulous program, secret Swiss Army knife. If you don't know anything about it, look it up. But essentially it's a program to take a bunch of stuff in, do something with it, and spit something else out on the other side. And she utilizes that for my favorite part of the industry, which is integrations, right? How can I make this tool over here do something with this tool over here that normally wouldn't be able to do anything with each other at all?
Chief nerd.
Yep. A bit-focused companion, another shout out. That's another good one. Open source, great in the live space. Anyway, but Touch Designer in general, she's done a lot with that, where it's like, how can we can merge technologies, but I think it's more important to say we can merge departments. So in this case, she's done a lot with merging, say, motion control with lighting, as an example. We've always, with the robot, been able to do some kind of modification of lighting through Flare, through the piece that we have with that, to kind of be able to create cool environments and stuff. But it ties up the motion control operator to be, you know, limited to being the person controlling the robot, who's thus controlling the camera, and also then controlling the lighting and things like that. Meg's been able to help us bridge that gap. So our gaffer, and I'll give a lot of credit to Vince on this as well, who's spent a long time both on our Hog from high-end systems, and then as well as now Blackout, for our DMX stuff, merging our environments of motion control with Meg and virtual production and the tool sets there, getting real-time lighting out of Unreal Engine, feeding that into Touch Designer, then going through there to be able to feed our lighting stuff that's happening. Maybe we add in a program called Mad Mapper into there, which if you're not familiar with projection mapping, if you go down our hallway, that's actually what that's driven with today. But Mad Mapper is an opportunity to be able to kind of sample things and be able to feed that to lights. There's just all kinds of integration that's happening here that's just so hard to explain why that's really innovative and really important.
It's not hard to explain if you come to Gear Show today.
That's true. That's
because
true.
all this stuff is like up and running at the show today.
Yeah.
To be able, in some way, and a lot of times just for decoration, but also to kind of give example of how you could use this. And a lot of it is that merging of technology.
Yeah.
Like we've merged it to make a cool looking, like trippy Willy Wonka lit hallway that's controlled by motion when you walk through. But it could be, those same technologies could be utilized on a set.
100%.
And that's kind of the spirit of Gear Show, is bringing out all the toys, not just ours, but all the stuff from all the vendors, all the new technologies, and the way they can interact with each other, just the way people here are going to interact with each other and network. So, I mean,
well, and I think that's
the best thing to do is to get people to come down here.
100%. I think
So
the more
350
people
West Johnstown Road, people.
today, 10 to 6.
Yeah, come on down.
Come on down. I think it's really interesting too, just as we start to think about technologies, right? I assume that I'm usually pretty well up to date on what new technologies are, what things are out here in the marketplace. But even still, like we had vendors setting up last night, and I'm walking around their booths, and I'm finding these little things that are like, hey, this is really cool. This is a new case insert, or this is a the Rialto is a really tiny little add-on for the Venice. Like, and I never realized just how small it was, because it's been a little harder to get to trade shows in the last few years. But
well, hopefully you have time to actually get around at the show instead of just
and again, that's a little bit of that change that we've been trying to go for this year, where it's like we want to have OHD to be able to have more time in front of the customers to be able to say, let me show you this really cool thing that we know that you might like. So I think that's definitely one of the pieces of it is come ask us, come talk to us, come have conversations with us about how we can do something that we can guide you through some of these things that are happening here with our vendors, with the stuff we have. And then, open the conversation. What do you guys want? What do you need? What are you missing in the marketplace? If you've bought your own camera, do you need more lenses? If you haven't bought a camera, do you need camera bodies? Do you need lighting? Do you need production tools? I mean, that's one of those ones that people always forget we have, right? And it seems like such a small little piece that, is like, oh yeah, well, tables and chairs. Well, eating lunch is important to me.
Yeah.
But it's like, we carry tables and chairs, and we carry tents, and we carry heaters, and we carry, coolers and trash cans, collapsible trash cans, like cones, all of these things that just seem like such small little pieces of the production pipeline. We really just want to be able for you to pick up the phone and say, hey, this is my list of stuff. What can you do for me? And then, I think we have come to get all of this stuff through the feedback of, do you have XYZ? Why, yes, we do have 200 wooden hangers. We'd love to be able to do that for you. Actually, I think they're plastic, but, or we do have 12 Z-Racks available for you, or whatever it might be, to be able to kind of fulfill your production needs. It's not that I need to have all the glamorous stuff under roof. I want to have the stuff that's going to make production, specifically in the markets that we serve, successful.
Yeah, it's not just the high-end gear and the Mad Mapper and the nerd stuff you were talking about.
Don't get me wrong, I love the nerd stuff.
It's the trash cans and the tables too, which all trash cans and tables are utilized today, by the way, throughout the building, because it's so packed with people and with the vendors.
The line item budget that we
some
spent
of those up
for trash cans is ridiculous.
Yeah. We should wrap this up, though, because Noah's yawned like 4 times over there.
I mean,
so I think we should come back later, maybe, with David.
Yeah, sure.
I do want to get some other people up here in front of the hot seat today. So if you're watching out there, vendors especially, I'm going to come for you. We'll get you in the hot seat so you can talk about what you got going on at Gear Show today. And anyone that might see this that's around, come down to West Johnstown Road.
350 West Johnstown Road, 10
our
to 6.
Columbus location today for the 2026 Gear Show. And last words, not about a food truck, but about something else. What's the last words on Gear Show today before we see you again?
I think it's just be curious, right? Ask questions, ask the hard questions. The vendors are here to try to give you an idea of what their pipelines look like and what their technologies are. And we're here to really help facilitate what you want next in your marketplaces that you're living and working in. So ask the hard questions and challenge us.
All right. Well, that was the first segment of the OHD podcast. Right now, the running title is 4 Yawns from Noah.
I like that.
Which was a little long for a podcast.
Yeah.
But
we could just shorten it to 4 yawns.
Once you yawn 4 times, we're out.
Yeah.
So it could be, you don't know how long the podcast
So if I just
be.
if I keep yawning, does that mean we
can
wrap it up earlier? Yeah. Yeah. All right.
All right.
Thanks, Mac.
Yeah. Hey,
have a great day.
It's great having you on the podcast.
Appreciate it.